Discover the heartwarming journey of Achilles. 10 incredible life-changing lessons revealed. In the heart of a quaint Midwestern town, Achilles worked tirelessly in his father's garage, pouring sweat and soul into wielding his tools like an artist. Vibrations thrummed through him as engines roared to life, a song of resilience that echoed his strong values. At 28, he wore the weight of responsibility like armor, shielding his spirited 10-year-old sister, Lily, who was as bright as the sun. After losing their mother, he dug deep into the roots of family loyalty and perseverance, teaching her that life could get tough, but it was how you got back up that mattered most. Remember, he would say, those blue eyes sparkling with warmth, it's not about how many times you fall, but that you keep standing back up. And Lily listened, her giggles piercing through the heaviness, a reminder of what joy looked like even amidst grief. One spring morning, the town was buzzing. An unfamiliar corporate car dealership was planning to swoop in like a falcon, ready to swallow the small, heartfelt community whole. The news landed like a ton of bricks, crashing into the hopes of local business owners. Achilles felt the earth shift beneath him. Memories of his father, a man who chased wealth and abandoned their family, crept in like shadows, whispering doubts in his ear. Could he protect his mother's and father's legacy? The community gathered for a meeting, faces lined with worry, a storm of emotions swirling around the room. "Can you navigate these waters?" whispered one elder, uncertainty etched into her features. Before he could process it, doubt flooded into Achilles' heart like a runaway train. Their gaze cut sharper than any tool he owned. It struck him in a way that made him clench his fists. A moment of anger flickered within him, fueled by the need to prove them wrong. He would show them what it truly meant to be a pillar of strength. Determined, he rallied the townsfolk for a community fundraiser. The stakes were high as traces of his estranged father's presence resurfaced, unearthing old wounds. Achilles needed the garage to remain alive, not just for him, but for Lily and for the legacy they were all fighting for. Staggering with both grief and the fire to protect what mattered, he penned an open letter to the town, speaking from a place of raw vulnerability, revealing the depths of his struggles and the critical need for their support. Before the event, as Lydia's laughter filled the air with joyous tinkling, an urgent announcement was made about a nearby local business falling prey to the dealership. That moment crackled in Achilles' chest, igniting into fierce resolve. He felt the stirrings of something bigger than himself, a duty to stand against their common enemy. But within that unity lay fractures of fear among the crowd. They were unsure if the past could truly be overcome. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As he faced the gathering, vulnerability crept in. The weight of his father's choices haunted him. How could he himself be a bridge to the past while forging a new future? The crowd hung on his every word, yet arguments erupted. A cacophony of worry echoed through the room, revealing divisions that threatened to widen. Achilles' grip tightened around the microphone, his heart pounding with longing to be more than just a mechanic. He wished to be a protector of dreams. Would he falter under the pressure of expectations, or would he rise, leading his town toward a tomorrow defined by integrity over wealth? The question hung in the air, heavy with possibility. What would he say? Would the dreams of a small garage and the ties of family prevail in the face of relentless corporate greed? The answer lay just beyond the horizon, waiting for the courage to emerge. The silence that followed his thoughts was deafening. Achilles looked across the room, faces blurred by anxiety and hope. He needed to connect with them, to reach beyond the fear that gripped every heart. "This isn't just about cars and money," he began, his voice firm but laced with emotion. "This is about us, our families, our history, and the future we want to build together." His words hung in the air, a flicker of inspiration sparking in some eyes. He could see it. the tiny flame of courage igniting in a few determined souls. Aunt May, her gray hair pulled back tight, raised her hand. But who are we, really? Small-town folks against a corporation with endless funds? What can we do? Everything. Achilles shouted, feeling the swell of adrenaline push him forward. We are more than just this garage, more than the businesses they want to buy out. We are a community. We have a story. We can show them that we are stronger together. We can create an event so big it can't be ignored. We need to make noise. Lily's eyes sparkled with admiration as she squirmed in her seat. He could feel her support like a warm coat on a chilly day. It provided him strength. The murmurs shifted, a current of agreement swirling as Achilles continued. Let us unite. Whether it's a bake sale, a car wash, or a town fair, let us put a spotlight on our passions. We need to raise funds and show that we refuse to fade away quietly. Voices rang out, hesitantly at first, and then a collective energy took hold. Speedy Joe, the town's most dynamic mechanic, leaned forward, his grizzled face lighting up. I can drum up old parts and we can do a charity car show. Count me in for the bake sale, called out Sandra, the local school teacher whose cookies were legendary as each person began to share their ideas. A tapestry of resilience began weaving itself, a colorful collage of what made them unique. Achilles' heart swelled as their united spirit slowly drowned the fear that had once ruled the room. He could practically feel the weight of his mother's spirit there, encouraging him to harness the strength of community she had cherished. But deep inside, doubts whispered quietly. Would it be enough? Would they be able to raise the stakes high enough against the looming dealership threat? Those uncertainties loomed like dark clouds in the back of Achilles' mind. But today was not for dwelling on fears. It was for building hope. As they concluded and made plans for the fundraiser, Achilles stepped outside, inhaling the crisp air deeply. He gazed at the fading sun, appreciating the way its warm rays touched everything, a reminder that light could still break through the darkest of clouds. Lily rushed out, her cheeks flushed with excitement. Did you see them? They're ready to fight. We can really do this, right? Achilles smiled, ruffling her hair. We will do this together. But even as he spoke, the specter of his father's legacy lingered at the edges of his mind, reminding him of the dangers of greed and solitude. Achilles knew he needed to confront not only the dealership but the ghosts of his past. What would it take to stand firm and true? Could he lead Lily and their community without losing himself in the fight? As those questions swirled in his mind, Achilles felt a heaviness settle in his chest. He glanced back toward the garage, the heart of their home, and steeled himself for the journey that lay ahead. Hope flickered brightly for the future, but the shadows remained. What choices would he make when the time came to face the true challenge? Would he shatter under the weight of expectation, or would the light of his community's spirit guide him through? The stakes had never been higher, and the answers were just around the corner waiting for him to seek them out. Achilles stood on the porch, watching the stars blink to life in the velvety sky. Each twinkle felt like a reminder of the vastness of their dreams, but also the pressures that came with them. He turned to Lily, whose infectious energy brightened the dimming twilight. Let us get to work, Achilles said, squeezing her shoulder. We need to get everyone on board. As they moved back inside the garage, the sense of purpose mingled with the lingering doubts. The walls of the garage, once filled with laughter and creativity, now felt heavy with responsibility. Everyone was counting on him. Could he really pull them through? Okay, team, he called, rallying the small group back together. We've got ideas, but we need to map out the details. Each of us has a role to play. Ideas started flying around like confetti, but along with excitement, there was palpable tension. Aunt May's voice rose above the chatter. What about the mayor? Can we count on his support? Achilles felt a lump in his throat. Their town's mayor was known for his ties with larger corporations, which only made victory seem further away. We can't lose hope, he said. We'll need his support, but we also need to create something undeniable. Let us show him what this community is made of. In that moment of determination, he glanced at Lily, who sat cross-legged on the floor, furiously jotting down notes. Her enthusiasm was an anchor in a sea of uncertainty. Every time he faltered, she was there, an unwavering presence in his life. The night stretched on as they mapped out their plans. Ideas morphed and grew, twisting together like the branches of the oaks outside. A car show became part carnival, part celebration of their town's spirit. Laughter bubbled up as they brainstormed games and contests, even a pie-eating competition. The thought of it pulled Achilles' heart back to the surface of hope. As they wrapped up the meeting, Achilles felt fatigue settling into his bones, but the spark in his chest was undeniable. Let us meet again tomorrow and start assigning tasks. We'll hit the streets, spread the word, and make this happen. The energy in the room was infectious, but as dark clouds rolled in, Achilles felt a chill sweep through. What if we don't raise enough? He pondered quietly, pushing the thought aside. Lily leaned closer, her brow furrowed. Hey, no second guessing. We got this. The way she believed in him made it hard to feel anything but gratitude. Just then, Speedy Joe barged in. His hands stained with grease but his smile radiant. I found a few old-school cars to show off. This is going to be the best event in town. They cheered. Achilles realized that this wasn't just about rescuing the garage. It was about genuine connection, about bringing people together for a common purpose. The realization sent a wave of warmth crashing through him. Yet, as everyone began to filter out, taking a piece of the hope they had built together, Achilles found himself standing alone for a moment. The weight of his father's legacy hung heavy on him. He wanted his father to be proud, to know he was still fighting for the family and the community he loved. What if the ghosts of the past could help him fight the demons of the future? The thought flickered, offering a strange kind of comfort. With a determined breath, he stepped outside, ready to confront whatever was waiting out there. But inside him loomed a new question, one with sharp edges. Could he truly change the narrative of his family, of their town? He took in the stars, braced for what was to come. Tomorrow would be their first step into the fight of their lives, and he needed to be ready. Could this challenge unveil the truths he sought, strengthen their bonds, or would it shatter the already fragile fabric of his world? The night pressed on, carrying the scent of pine and the promise of the dawn. Achilles could feel it build like a storm in the distance. He was ready, but would it also be the moment he discovered just how far he was willing to go for the people he loved? The next morning arrived with the sun stretching its golden rays across the horizon, dispelling the lingering shadows of night. Achilles woke early, the taste of determination on his tongue. Today was the day. Today was the beginning. He could feel the coolness of the morning air brush against his skin and the rustle of leaves whispering promises of change. This was a day meant for making waves. He quickly dressed, the familiar motions igniting a sense of urgency in his heart. Outside, he found Lily already sitting on the porch, her smile bright as the dawn. Ready or not? She called, her voice playful yet earnest. Born ready, Achilles replied, returning her grin. The lightheartedness felt good, a needed boost before the heaviness of the day settled in. As they walked to the garage, Achilles could see familiar faces gathering. Speedy Joe was already tinkering with an old engine, while Aunt May organized supplies. The garage buzzed with excitement that felt electric. He couldn't help but think that it was the tapestry of these individuals woven together that fueled their purpose. Okay, everyone, gather around, he shouted, drawing the group's attention. A murmur of anticipation rippled through the crowd. I know we're all excited, but let us make a plan. We need to be efficient with our time. They divided responsibilities. Lily took charge of community outreach, smiling ear to ear as she began mapping out henna designs for their event brochure. Speedy Joe grabbed a clipboard, ready to track down car enthusiasts. Aunt May promised to cook enough pies to feed an army, her famous blueberry pie being the centerpiece. Achilles felt the overwhelming weight of anxiety in his stomach start to lift. This was teamwork, loyalty. They weren't just fighting for the garage. They were fighting for each other. He called the group back together, their energy infectious, and it filled the room with laughter. We're not just hosting an event. We're bringing our community together, Achilles proclaimed. This is about sharing our roots, our love for cars, and our pride in our town. His words ignited a fire within them all. They buzzed like bees around a blooming flower, throwing out ideas, each one more creative than the last. The car show would have live music, local vendors, and even a contest for the best car-themed cake. But then, just as things began to feel buoyant, reality punctured the bubble. The thought of approaching the mayor loomed like a storm cloud. Achilles' heart sank momentarily. What if the mayor turned them away? What if he said no? Hey! Lily's voice cut through his spiraling thoughts, firm and reassuring. We can't let fear dictate this. Let us just go. The worst that can happen is he says no, and we'll still be right here together. We've got this, remember? Her words wrapped around his anxiety like a warm blanket. You're right, he admitted, shaking off the dread. Let us take that first step. We're ready. With newfound resolve, they set off for City Hall, the sun shining down like a spotlight on their determined faces. The smell of fresh coffee wafted through the air, paired with the distant sound of laughter from children playing nearby. This was home, a tapestry of dreams, struggles, and hopes as they approached the entrance. Achilles felt his heart racing not out of fear, but for the potential that lay just ahead. Would their voices echo in that chamber? Suddenly, a firm voice interrupted his racing thoughts. Achilles, you're here. It was the mayor, flanked by his aides, a bemused expression on his face. Yes, sir. Achilles fumbled, unsure how to begin this crucial moment. But the mayor held up a hand, cutting through the chaos swirling in Achilles' mind. Let us hear what you've got. And as he stood there, surrounded by his friends, he felt the weight of their shared dreams. This was it, the moment that could change everything. Would they be able to convince him? His heart thundered wildly in his chest as he took a deep breath, ready to fight for what they believed in. But just then, a figure appeared in the distance, approaching fast, a silhouette that sent a chill down Achilles' spine. Who could it be, and what would it mean for the fate of their dreams? Achilles struggled to focus on the mayor's expectant look. The figure approaching was impossible to ignore. A sense of dread washed over him. Who was this person, and what were they doing here at this crucial moment? Lily noticed Achilles' distraction and squeezed his arm gently. Stay with me, she whispered, her voice steady, pulling him back to the present. The figure got closer, revealing a familiar face, Martha, the mayor's assistant. Her usually composed demeanor looked frayed, her brow furrowed in urgency. Mayor, we need to talk now, she called, and Achilles' heart sank. Martha and the mayor quickly exchanged words, a rapid-fire discussion that made Achilles barely breathe. The laughter from the nearby park faded into silence around him. The tension hung thick in the air, and he felt the weight of his friends beside him. They all shared the same dread that something was amiss, something that could derail their dreams. Can't this wait? The mayor replied, his voice laced with frustration. No, sir. I believe it can't, Martha said, glancing sharply at Achilles. This involves the garage. Achilles' stomach twisted. He opened his mouth to speak but found no words. His spirit sank, visions of their plans shattering in an instant. Achilles, right? Martha turned her focus to him, her gaze intense. I need to know what your plans are. This is bigger than just a car show. The mayor eyed Martha skeptically. What do you mean bigger? He came here to pitch an event, a community gathering of some sort. It's more than that, Mayor, she implored, her voice rising slightly. Did you know the garage is part of a plan for redevelopment? They're thinking of taking the land. A cold shiver ran through Achilles, and a collective gasp escaped from Lily and the others. Speedy Joe's brow furrowed deeply, and Aunt Maya's face paled. Wait, what? Achilles finally found his voice, though it trembled. You can't be serious. This is our home. Martha nodded, urgency in her eyes. That's why you need to make your voice heard now. Show them how much this place matters to you, to the community. Without your event, this garage is just another piece of property. The mayor frowned, a flicker of realization crossing his face. You're saying this event could actually influence their decision? Absolutely, Martha insisted, emphasizing every word. It's about community strength, showing what this place means to you and everyone around it. The adrenaline surged within Achilles, drowning out the initial wave of despair. His heart pounded as thoughts raced through his mind. We have to make this event happen. We can't let them take away our garage. Lily caught his eye. Together, right? We'll make it bigger than any of us thought. Unexpected courage surged in Achilles' chest. Yes, we're not just fighting for our garage, we're fighting for the people in our town. The mayor leaned in, seeming to finally grasp the weight of the moment. Then let us hear it, Achilles, he said, his voice stronger now. What do you have planned? As Achilles opened his mouth to explain, the air crackled with possibility. He felt the eyes of his friends full of faith, pride, readiness. But just as he started, a commotion erupted behind them. A car sped into the parking lot, tires screeching. The crowd turned, startled. As they saw who was behind the wheel, a figure dressed in black with a hood pulled low, he realized the stakes were rising higher. Who were they? What did this mean for their fight? Achilles narrowed his eyes, panic creeping back in. Would they make it through this day intact? Or would it all fall apart? Achilles' heart raced as the car skidded to a stop, the driver emerging in a flurry of urgency. The low-hanging hood obscured their face, but the tension crackling in the air made it clear this was no ordinary visitor. Murmurs rippled through the gathered crowd, growing louder, each face contorted with confusion and concern. Who is that? Speedy Joe whispered, gripping the edge of the table like it was a lifeline. Achilles' mind turned over possibilities, each one darker than the last. Was this someone sent to intimidate them, or a harbinger of bad news? Before he could dwell too long in uncertainty, the figure took a step forward, pushing back their hood. Recognition struck Achilles like a bolt of lightning. It was Danny, his childhood friend who had left town to chase his dreams. What are you doing here? Achilles blurted out, relief flooding him even amid the chaos. But Danny's expression was grave, a far cry from the carefree spirit Achilles remembered. I came to warn you, Danny said, his voice urgent. I heard about the redevelopment plan. Someone from the city is pulling strings, and it's even worse than you think. Worse? How? Achilles felt the air constrict in his lungs. His dreams of the car show and saving the garage already felt precarious, like standing on the edge of a cliffside walk. They're not just targeting the garage. They have their sights set on your whole community, homes, parks, all of it. Danny's words tumbled out, punctuated by the undeniable intensity in his eyes. They want to turn this place into a commercial zone. It's a land grab. What? No, Achilles shook his head vehemently, as if his body could physically reject such an idea. The thought sent ripples of dread through him. This wasn't just about cars or a garage anymore. It was about their entire town, their lives. Martha took a step forward, a mix of fear and determination in her eyes. Do you have proof, Danny? Anything we can use? Danny nodded. I gathered some documents at the city office. They haven't been made public yet, but I have the plans. I can show you. A spark ignited within Achilles, replacing the dread. We can use this. If we can rally the community together, maybe we can stop this madness. Lily squeezed his hand, her eyes twinkling with disbelief. Can we really do it? We have to try, Achilles replied, igniting a fire in his own heart. If this place matters to us, if we've built a life here, we can't just let it slip away. Not without a fight. As if sensing their resolve, the mayor stepped forward. We'll hold a meeting, a rally. We'll gather everyone. Show the city just how much this town means. A cheer erupted from the small crowd. The weight of despair lifted, replaced by warmth and solidarity. People began exchanging excited whispers, ideas, strategies, ways to get involved. For the first time, standing at the crossroads of uncertainty, Achilles felt hope burgeon forth. Then, out of the blue, a dark shape loomed nearby, a figure resuming their approach, shadowed and menacing. The energy shifted again, like the audio of a movie abruptly cutting off, leaving only uncertainty. Who else is here? Achilles asked, heart thudding against his ribs. What kind of storm were they about to face? With heavy steps, The figure moved closer, revealing the silhouette of a familiar figure, one he thought he would never see again. "Stop right there," Danny shouted, as the crowd fell back, astonished. Achilles' breath caught in his throat, and an icy fear crawled over him. Who had returned to this place, and what would it mean for their fight for their home? Achilles felt time freeze. As the figure stepped into the unraveling light, the crowd gasped collectively, shock painted on every face. It was Johnny, the rebellious spirit from their youth, who had vanished just as quickly as he left his mark on their lives. "Johnny, what are you doing here?" Achilles managed, his voice strained. The emotions knotted in his chest were unsettling. A mix of anger, relief, and confusion. "I came to see what happened to my hometown," Johnny replied, his tone unreadable. "I hear it's up for grabs now." Danny stepped closer, eyes hardening. "If you're here to help the city with their plans, you can turn right back around." Johnny's laughter was piercing, and it hung in the air awkwardly. "I'm not here to help anyone, trust me. I learned the hard way about trusting the wrong people." His gaze shifted, taking in all the familiar faces. Eyes that were once filled with dreams and hope their dreams now threaten. A murmur spread through the crowd as Jonathan leaned against a rusted car, its blue paint flaking under the city lights. "You really don't understand how deep this goes." Achilles stepped forward, the ground feeling unsteady beneath him. "Then explain it." "We're trying to save this place. Our homes, our memories. They're not just taking buildings, Achilles. They're erasing us, erasing a history of who we are." Johnny's passion ignited something primal in the hearts of those listening. Achilles felt the spark. It spread like wildfire through his friends. Martha's eyes fixed on Johnny, her brows knitting together. "You think we can't fight this?" "Fight?" Johnny echoed, glancing at the crowd. "Of course you can. But it's not just about blocking bulldozers. It's about igniting a movement." Danny crossed his arms, skeptical. "And what role do you play in this movement, Johnny?" "I have connections. I know people who know people," he replied, raising his hands defensively. "Let us be honest, what's left of this town won't just vanish without a fight. But we need strength in numbers." Achilles felt the tension linger in the air. Johnny was right. They needed every person willing to stand up and fight beside them. But could they trust him after all this time? Lily squeezed Achilles' hand tighter, fear shadowing her face. "Is it worth the risk?" Johnny caught her eye, sincerity shining through. "You have nothing to lose by gathering the community. Beside your homes and memories. Rally them. But don't just focus on defense, ignite their hearts too." Gathered faces stared back, each person weighing the reality. Feelings of uncertainty collided with the stubborn hope that had begun to define them. The first meeting was already set for the next evening. Achilles felt the weight of their mission pressing against him. Every heartbeat thought of family, each emotion rushing through him, an entire community's future dangling on the edge of a beautiful dream and a supporting unity. "Say we found ourselves a crowd. What then?" Achilles asked, narrowing his eyes. "What do we do with our strength?" Johnny leaned closer, the air buzzing with tension. "You'll take action. You'll remind the city how much this community matters. And maybe, just maybe, you'll open their eyes." Determination flared within Achilles, igniting a fire that traveled between each person surrounding him as they began to whisper plans and strategies. Achilles caught sight of a man standing at the edge of the crowd. Dark eyes narrowed, hands shoved deep in pockets. An unsettling energy radiated from him, as if he held secrets. "Who's that?" he wondered. Could there be more lurking in the darkness? Johnny followed his gaze, face turning serious. "No idea. But I think they're here for more than just a show," with fear creeping back in. Achilles wondered if, in their quest to save everything they loved, they had stumbled into a deeper conspiracy that could threaten not just their homes, but their very lives. The air hung thick with anticipation as Johnny's words settled over the crowd like a heavy blanket. Each person exchanged glances, silently weighing the urgency of their situation against the unsettling presence lurking at the fringe. "Let us focus on what we can do right now," Achilles urged, trying to rally everyone away from the fear that gnawed at their hearts. "We can't let fear define us. We have to take a stand, not just for us but for everyone who has come before us. Martha stepped forward, her voice gaining strength. Achilles is right. We've been bullied long enough. We need to fight for our memories, our families. We need to show them we're still here. Inspired by her fire, the crowd shifted, their trepidation giving way to a cautious hope. They began to murmur their agreements, passion stirring in their veins. Lily glanced at Achilles, her expression a mixture of admiration and concern. What if we fail? She whispered, nervously twisting a strand of hair. Achilles squeezed her hand tighter, an anchor against the uncertainties. We won't know unless we try. Johnny looked out at them, a proud smile dawning on his lips. You're on the right track. Show them the bonds that tie this community together. Let them see our spirit. That's where the real power lies. As the night wore on, they started craft simple plans. They spoke about flyers to spread the word, about organizing meetings in community centers, about reaching out to old friends and neighbors who also felt the threat lingering near. Everything seemed to be falling into place until a voice cut through the gathering noise. And what if the city doesn't care? The man with dark eyes had stepped forward, his tone low and gravelly but fierce. Achilles felt his heart race, and the crowd fell silent. Who are you? He asked, his bravado only partly masking the worry inside. I'm someone who knows this city better than most, he replied, his gaze piercing. You think your little movement will change anything? You'll only stir the sleeping beast, and when it wakes, what are you saying? Danny challenged, stepping closer, fists clenched. The city doesn't just roll over because you're angry. There are forces at play that you have no idea about. This isn't a punch-up at a bar. This is serious business. His eyes darted to Johnny, which felt like an unspoken accusation hanging heavy in the air. Johnny bristled, a flicker of defiance igniting. We're aware it won't be easy, but we've all felt the weight of this situation. You don't need to spit doubt, we need encouragement. Encouragement? The man interrupted, a cold laugh escaping his lips. What you need is a plan. One that won't label you as just another nuisance. This place has teeth and it bites back. The crowd shifted uncomfortably, uncertainty washing over them again. Achilles clenched his fists, anger bubbling beneath the surface. They had come so far. Fine, he said loudly, determination hardening his voice. If there are real threats, then we brace ourselves. But we aren't backing down. Not now, not ever. We'll find our voice, and we'll be heard. If you want to come along for the ride, help us dig deeper. Because your threats only spark our fire. The man tilted his head, a glint of amusement breaking through his stern demeanor. You've got guts, kid. But guts alone won't lead you to victory. Johnny stepped closer to Achilles, eyes flashing. But they might lead us to find out just exactly what we're up against. With the tension swirling in the air, Achilles felt stronger than ever, but also aware that the looming darkness over their homes had the potential to swallow them whole as they dispersed into the chilly night. Achilles caught Johnny studying the mysterious man. You think he knows something we don't? He asked quietly. Johnny nodded, the unease evident in his expression. And that worries me. It's time we find out just how deep this goes. Achilles felt his gut twist. What else was brewing beneath the surface? Would they be prepared for what lay ahead? And would there be any allies when the storm broke? He couldn't shake the feeling that the real battle was only just beginning. The next day dawned gray and blustery, matching the uneasiness that hung over Achilles and his friends. They gathered at the old coffee shop, their usual place of refuge. The interior was warm and inviting, with the smell of freshly brewed coffee mingling with the sweet scent of cinnamon rolls. But today, the familiar setting felt different, charged with a sense of urgency. Achilles took a deep breath, glancing around the table. Johnny's brow was furrowed in thought, while Lily stared out the window, her fingers drumming nervously on the table. Martha appeared resolute, but Achilles knew there were worries bubbling just beneath the surface. We need to come up with something concrete, Achilles began, forcing the words to come out strong. We know we can't just sit around. We need a strategy that speaks to the heart of this community. I agree, Martha chimed in, tapping a list she had been preparing. Let us outline who we need to talk to. Everyone from the local businesses to the folks at the community center. If we can get them on board, we can show the city we mean business. But what if they don't listen? Lily asked, her voice barely above a whisper, yet the weight behind it was palpable. What if they just ignore us? Achilles felt a rush of warmth for her worry, but he couldn't let that sink their spirits. They might try to ignore us at first, but if we're loud enough and consistent enough, they'll have to pay attention. We just need to find our voice. He looked around the table, trying to unify their resolve. That's it, Johnny exclaimed, his face suddenly lighting up. What if we do a march? Something visible, something that can make headlines? If we get enough people involved, it won't just be us anymore. It'll be an event. Lily leaned forward, excitement creeping into her eyes. We could make signs and wear matching shirts. Show solidarity. Yes, Martha agreed. And we can invite local musicians to play. Make it a real community gathering. The energy was building like steam in a kettle, and Achilles could feel the weight on his shoulders lifting. Okay, so let us set a date and get the word out. We need volunteers for planning and promotion. As they mapped out a plan, they began to scribble ideas on napkins, brainstorming everything from slogans to logistics. Laughter began to weave back into the air, the excitement erasing doubt bit by bit. But Achilles still felt a nagging thought at the back of his mind. The man from last night's meeting had said there were forces at play. What if they met resistance? What if this was more than they anticipated? Those questions chased each other in his mind like shadows. Later that afternoon, as they split to tackle their tasks, Achilles took a deep breath. His heartbeat echoed in his ears, but he was more determined than ever. He glanced at Johnny, who was already making calls on his phone, a spark of hope in his demeanor. Achilles walked outside, the cool breeze hitting his face. He allowed himself a moment to breathe deeply. There was something powerful rising in him, a resolve, a fierce desire to protect this place that meant so much. Just as he started to walk back toward the coffee shop, he noticed the familiar dark figure leaning against the lamppost across the street. The man watched him with unreadable eyes, and for a fleeting moment, Achilles felt a jolt of fear. Was he friend or foe? Did he truly know something that could change everything? Achilles turned back and closed the door behind him. The crowd in the coffee shop was buzzing about their plans, and that was where he wanted to be. Yet, the man's gaze lingered in his mind, a warning that refused to fade. Would they truly be able to rally the voices of the community? Or would they be blindsided by the strength of the city they planned to challenge? The closer they got to their march, the more the ticking clock felt like a thunderous drum roll leading to an impending showdown. There would be no running away from this fight now. It was all coming to a head, and Achilles felt electric with anticipation. But as their preparations ramped up, he couldn't shake the question. Who else might be ready to fight back? The air buzzed with anticipation as the day of the march drew near. Achilles stood at the center of the bustling community square, his heart pounding like a bass drum. He looked around at the spirited faces of family and friends, each one carrying a piece of the same mission. They bore handmade signs that shouted passion, pride, and the demand to be heard. We're still here. Save our homes. Community, not corporations. These words rang out like a clarion call. Lily bounced on her toes beside him, her eyes filled with excitement. Do you think everyone will show up? Achilles grinned at her. They already have, kiddo. Look at all those smiling faces ready to fight for each other. The sun shone brightly, warming the hope that hung in the air as they gathered for the opening speeches. Achilles felt a blend of nerves and exhilaration brewing inside him. The mayor arrived, greeted by supportive cheers that encouraged him to step up, to be a partner in their cause. It was a refreshing sight, and while whispers of uncertainty still lingered in their minds, today felt different. Today is about showing strength, unity, and pride. The mayor began, his voice booming over the gathered crowd. You are what this town stands for. A swell of emotion coursed through Achilles. It was the moment they'd all been waiting for. the moment they would show the city that they wouldn't back down. Each speech resonated with their struggle and resilience, igniting a fire in the crowd. They shared stories of childhood, family dinners, joyful laughter memories tied to every corner of this town. Achilles felt weighty responsibility lift as everyone rallied around shared hopes, each face lit with determination. But then, like a dark cloud rolling in a shadow, fell over him. He turned to see the man from the coffee shop standing off to the side, arms crossed, eyes glinting with mischief. Something felt off. The unease in Achilles' gut flared back to life. In that moment, he knew in his heart that this wasn't just a fight for the garage anymore. It was a fight for the very essence of their community. "Are we ready to march?" Achilles bellowed, his voice rising in conviction. A resounding cheer erupted in response, voices weaving together like a powerful chorus. They began their procession, feet pounding against the pavement like the drums of a marching band. The energy surged as they wound through the familiar streets, a river of hope flowing toward their destination. Along the way, neighbors joined in, waving handmade banners. Children laughed, and even some older folks who had once been hesitant now smiled alongside them. The excitement rippled through Achilles' heart. They would not just be heard, they would be impossible to ignore. The march culminated at the town hall, and as they gathered in front of the imposing building, Achilles climbed onto the small stage, the crowd's roar washing over him like a wave. He could feel everyone's eyes on him, ready to rally for the memories they cherished. The weight of his past hung in the air, intertwining with the vibrancy of shared strength. "Together we built this town," Achilles shouted. "Together we will not let it be taken from us." The crowd erupted, an explosion of unified voices that seemed to reach the heavens. For every fiber of doubt that lingered in his mind, their shouted affirmations eradicated it. But just as hope soared, the dark figure stepped forward. Achilles stood rigid, bracing but resolute. "What do you want?" he called out, his spine straight and unwavering. The man smirked, a cold laugh escaping his lips. "You've clapped your hands and gathered your crowd, but you have no idea what you're up against." His words hung in the air, chilling the enthusiasm, dousing their fire momentarily. "We don't need your negativity," Danny shot back, stepping in front of Achilles, a shield made of pure grit. "You underestimate what this community is capable of." "Do I?" There was a challenge in the man's eyes as he stepped closer. "It will take more than just shouts and slogans to save your precious memories. Remember that." With a final smirk, he vanished into the crowd, leaving uncertainty lingering like smoke in the air. Achilles felt a collective breath draw in, fear and anger mingled together, a potent concoction. But he also sensed determination break through the darkness as the crowd turned to him, waiting for a response. "Today we show them our strength," Achilles declared, heart racing anew. "This isn't just a march. This is a battle of spirits. We will show them the power of our unity." The crowd roared, a wave of thunderous approval filling the square. Achilles raised his signs high. "Let the world know our love for this town cannot be erased by greed." As they rallied on, Achilles knew he had moved from the grip of fear, embracing the warmth of hope lighting the way. They were still together, a makeshift family bound by loyalty, love, and shared dreams. And step by step, with voices raised, they walked toward the horizon filled with promises to cherish and protect. The shadow of corporate greed hovered near, but he felt the strength of his community shine like a beacon. Each step was a testament to their hard-fought battle to defend not just a garage, but the heart and soul of their town. Today, they chose hope over fear, and their dreams became stronger, with every voice echoing as one. Achilles realized they didn't just stand for themselves, they stood for one another, ready to fight for every memory, for every future. And as the sun dipped below the horizon, the warmth in their hearts illuminated the way forward, a light sharpened by community and love competing against any darkness that dared to approach. This was the moment they had transformed into a formidable force. This was their time to define the future. It was no longer about just the garage. It was about home, and they would not back down. Now, if you loved this heartwarming journey of Achilles and want to follow more incredible stories like this, you need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help our community grow. We want to hear your thoughts and feelings about the ending, so be sure to comment below. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Together, let us take this ride onward.